Hi, welcome. It's another episode of Well Connected. And for those who don't know, this is Ramses Ja and Q. So how are you guys? What's been going on?
I've been thriving, man. I've been prospering. I'm in a good space.
That's such a complicated question. I never know how to answer it.
I know. I was about to say they're never gonna get this one.
Yeah. Part of my life is fantastic, though. I was just talking to you guys earlier. I got 2 babies at home. That part is exciting. I'm learning a lot of patience exercises. I'm becoming a better man, a better person because of it. So if y'all see me and I look better, it's the babies.
You're glowing.
That's good, man.
He's like, it's stress.
It's stress.
It's stress
but
and
it's
the
making
heat.
me, they say pressure make diamonds, you know what I mean? It busts pipes or make diamonds. I'm hoping I end up a diamond on the other side of it.
You're like, thank you for getting me out of the house. I told him it was so important I needed to come with Ramses and come sit down with Viv, and
I think so.
And now you have the whole night off.
Word.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're listening to this, that part isn't true. I'm coming straight home. I love my babies.
So, first and foremost, I miss seeing you guys DJ. Of course.
Oh,
how
man.
do you guys feel about that? Like, do you guys miss performing? I know you guys like do a little bit of Twitch stuff. I know you do for sure. But like, how does it even compare?
Talk to the people, Ramses. I want to hear this.
Well, I'll be honest. At least for me, I think there's a part of DJing that really kind of caters to the ego. Like being in front of a crowd, getting that rush. You know what I mean?
You want to hear the woes and
all that. And if I'm honest with myself, I know that I put that to the side a long time ago. Q knows because we've DJed together so often, so many times, that a lot of times I'm comfortable not even DJing if Q is DJing for me.
Because you'll host.
Or
too.
Robbie's, I'll just get on the mic. And for me, that's a sort of a secondary position because the music is the main thing and a host is secondary. And then me as a host, it's not about me. You'll never hear me shout out myself on the mic. I feel like that's mad corny. But I always shout out my DJ. So if I'm DJing and Robbie Rob's in the club, or of course Q or Gio or somebody like that, I'm always shouting them out, bigging them up and making sure people. So my ego's been in check for a long time to where, I don't really need that gratification from the crowd. So I don't think this has really been as hard on me as it could have been if this had happened in my younger years. I'm just really more taking advantage of this quarantine in different ways, trying to maximize on, life experience, time with my family, personal growth and growth with the culture, obviously. I think that's part of the reason why I'm here. But DJing is always going to be there. That's the love of my life. It's tatted all over my body, and I don't
You're not
think
going to show us anymore?
Nah, that's it.
You gotta be
Come on, Aunt Viv.
Rams are being here chest naked.
He's like, wow.
Rams
As a matter of fact,
don't start talking about them tattoos. Don't give him an excuse.
Man. And how has that made you feel? Like not his tattoos.
We got warm in here. Sheesh.
Like, the whole, moving over to live stream and, not being in the clubs as much.
Not to sound like overly deep about it, I think everybody that we know that's in the creative space, we got into it with some passion, right? It's not like the normal fill out a job application at Target and work your way to manager. Like, that's not really our path.
Yeah.
In the creative space, it's more passion driven. So you asked about us missing it. I miss the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Because when they hire us, we're in charge. We're creative director.
And
So we get to have a ball. Sometimes, as we all know, you get hired by somebody, a client or a boss, if you will, and you don't get to enjoy what you're doing. They turn it into a job. We try to avoid that as much as we can. So I don't miss that part. Not every person that hires you is a great person to work for, even as an independent contractor, But I definitely miss being in the space because when people say music makes them high, that's literal. I don't think people are being hyperbolic. Like the effect that a proper set can have on a room full of people, that's really, really hard to replace. So the live stream part is fun because you get to kind of one-on-one personally engage with people through the kind of online messaging and the chat that goes on. But being in a room full of people and kind of getting that intrinsic response from them to what you're doing, it's very, very difficult to replace that with anything else. So I've enjoyed, the Twitch and the lives, because I've had people that I haven't seen or talked to in 20 years pop into
and
my
they're
live.
Tuning in
and that part is incredible.
They're like, take a shot.
Everybody's always asking me what I'm drinking. It's just lemonade, people.
It's just lemonade.
I don't really get down with the alcohol, but it's been cool. It's an entirely different game doing it live, but I get to do it in my house. I get to hold my son and my daughter while I'm DJing, which is cool. And like I said, friends from high school who I haven't seen since then,
they can finally tune in.
Have jumped into my lives, and a couple people from high school and college hired me to DJ parties for them.
Oh, dope!
Via the internet. So that's been really cool.
I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. So I haven't seen you since March, but is that good? Is that a good thing?
It's just crazy how long.
No, I know it's been a minute.
Yeah,
and I got to see you during everything. Because I saw you out in the marches and at Monarch, so it's been kind of nice to just keep like that in touch.
Hey man, I got you, Viv. I ain't going nowhere.
So the big thing I really want to talk about is since everything's kind of been on lockdown, and since I've been seeing you at the marches, like you made a public announcement. I think that people want to know kind of like what was your big reason for leaving radio, because you had just posted a week before like 15 years in radio. National Radio Day,
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even digest that part.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know the story, well, first off, for those who do know the story, I maintain that I'm not here to talk bad about anybody. I'm only going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about my family. I'm going to talk about my people, right? But for those that don't know the story, for 12 of those 15 years, more or less, I worked with a radio station out here, The Beat 101.1. A lot of people that know me know that. In that amount of time, at least 10 years, I became really good friends with the program director. I want to say some good things about him, if I may, because I believe that this conversation and conversations like these really deserve to be approached from both sides.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So I'll say his name. His name is Fred Rico. Fred is the same man that taught me how to stand with the people. He taught me what that looked like. I thought that I was always doing that. In college, I was the president of the NAACP. After I graduated, I would always go back and help out with the HBCU college fairs, with the MLKU celebrations, with the Urban League, with the Black Philanthropy Initiative, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Fred Rico is the one that taught me about having a little bit more universal approach to giving back. In fact, Q and I, part of the nexus of the Change Society, which is a nonprofit that we run and own, where we do our #lunchbag. Part of that was suggested to us by Fred Rico. Fred Rico's not a bad person. When my grandmother got sick and she had a stroke, Fred is the one that let me take time off to go be with my family. You know what I mean? Those are things that I'll never ignore. Fred Rico propped me up. He was like, hey, I think you can do more than what you're doing. Good man. I think Fred missed an opportunity, and the reason why I named, Ken Brentlinger and I named Paul Holton in my resignation email. You can read that up on my Facebook or really anywhere. If you just Google my name, it's like the first thing that comes up now.
I was told that shares.
Oh, way more than that.
That I saw at that point, like that day, but that's crazy.
Yeah. But the reason, the reason why all these people got kind of caught up in it, and I'll tell the story in just a second. I just need to frame it the right way. The truth is, those people should have approached me. They should have came and knocked on my door day one and said, hey, look, we just saw somebody get murdered on TV. We see the response to these murders. We see that the community is hurting. We see that the people that we make money off of.
What should we do? Can we do something? Can you be the voice for us? And if they didn't want to use me, they could have went to Alafia, Pokerface. Shout out to Pokerface. He's another good dude, who's also black, who could, kind of allow the community to, decide its path forward and not let, let's say, 12 News or, I'm not picking on nobody, but not let anybody else write the story. We can, establish our own narrative here. They should have came to me and they didn't. And when I approached them about it, nobody got behind the idea and championed it. And so I was the only one shouting for this for months and months and months. Anyway, ultimately, I asked for a show that would empower Black and brown voices, community leaders, community organizers, social justice warriors, people that were out on the streets
trying to make a difference in the lives of black and brown people.
And I want to add, this also wasn't like last week. It was like
over months. This is over a long time. Yeah. And so, long story short, after getting kind of, hey, just wait until next week, or just wait until we do this and get this right, blah, blah, blah. My last conversation with Frederico, he said, you know what, actually what we're going to do is continue to run our existing PSA show. And that's the show that the radio station runs, where they're like, where they talk about like free dental care, say no to drugs, drinking and driving. And it doesn't really speak to the but it's not current. It's not only that, but it doesn't speak to the culture that this company is profiting from. You know what I'm saying? You're taking the culture that I have to leave to my children. You're making money off of it, but you're not trying to contribute to making sure that this world is a safer place for when my children become men. And there's a fundamental issue that I take with that. And the thing about it is that these men knew me long enough to know there is exactly one hill that I will die on, and that's the one. You know what I mean? And so I move with love. I'm all about forgiveness. It's not a matter of me having beef with nobody. I didn't want nobody to take nothing. I didn't want nobody to lose their job. But because over those many months I had committed to, hey, look, we're working on something. I'll plug you with the people doing the show, or if I'm doing a show, you could come do the show with me. I'll help you give your message a platform so people could hear you. I'm talking to the people for months and months. And then when it comes down to the come down, Fred tells me I don't want to do a black show, his exact words. Then I'm like, well, shoot, I can't go back to these same people like that are looking at me like, well, what are you doing? Mr. High and Mighty, we propped you up. What are you doing for us now? I can't go back to them and say, well, hey, they told me I can't do a show, so, I can't do a show. Because then they're going to look at me like, well, you still align yourself with them? You still working with them? Obviously, I couldn't do that. But there's a much more basic, much more close to home reason. Like, I'm a man, and I have 2 sons. And if my sons knew that, how could they carry my coffin and lay me in the ground and look and say that was an honorable man? And
they've been with you at the marches.
Exactly.
They've been with you since day one.
So for me, my resignation had to be public so that the whole community knew I'm standing with you. They made this decision, and it didn't involve you, but I'm gonna stand with you. The community needed to know that. And then I needed to make sure that I talked to my older son. I talked to my little boy, but he's a little too young. Yeah. He doesn't really get it. But he knows there's something going on. But I raised my sons right. I like to think that I raised my sons right. But I talked to my older son. Immediately, he like combed his hair into a big old afro like Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? He felt like, okay, this is go time. Let's get busy. And to me, that was beautiful, because that means I raised my son not to be a pushover, not to let nobody take advantage of him, not to let nobody dictate to him how his voice is going to be used. You know what I mean? Because that's one thing that I never let nobody take from me, is my voice. Not saying they was trying to do that at the beat. I'm just saying that I just, as a man, any man, or woman that stands on her own or his own, should know that as a fundamental truth, if you believe something and you're motivated by your own convictions, that you gotta do what's right for you. And unfortunately, fortunately, things went the way that they did, because the outcome obviously was that the Beat ended up doing the show that I asked them to do. They picked Cedric Ceballos to champion that, because that was, I think, the only card they had to play. But the benefit to the community is still there, and I love Ced, and I love all those men. They're not bad people. They made a bad choice. I believe in forgiveness. So if anybody listening to my voice right now, if people wrong you, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to stick around for that, but forgiveness is the path forward. Love is the path forward. That's how I feel. Some people think it's war. Some people think you gotta whatever, and you might be right. But for me, what's in my heart is we're gonna forgive each other. We're gonna love each other, even if you don't love me back. It's no beef in my heart, man. I'm just trying to make sure that we all get a little bit closer where we gotta be. And anytime somebody give me a microphone and ask me about this story, I'm gonna say it 100 times if I get in front of 100 microphones. But the fact is, anybody listening to this, that I quit that job for you.
And I mean, well said.
Thank you.
And I want to add, like, there was never any grudges. Like, you're not a type to hold grudges.
Nah.
What was your response? Because I know, like, I think I saw the post go up, like, right away.
Yeah.
And I know.
There's nuance and there's context to everything, right? I don't want people to hear this and get the impression, because you might, that Ramses had this play right? I'm gonna blow this up because I got this other play over here.
I wish.
That's
not it.
With no typos.
Yeah, that's not it, people. Like we had that very scary conversation after the fuse was lit, and we were on our way into a tunnel that we could not see the light on the other side of. So I don't want people to hear this and think, oh, Ramses made this master play. Like, no, when he said he did it for y'all, he did it for y'all with no parachute, with no, there was no bungee cord. He just jumped. Thank the man above. He grew wings. He's flying now. But those wings didn't exist. There was no plan B, right? That the man had to make a decision, a principled decision. And if you read what he put up, I've told him the most jarring and the most kind of the gravity moment for me was my sons are watching me.
Yeah.
So the decisions that I make, especially
we were just talking about your kids too.
Especially his teenage son, right? Because our babies are our babies, but he has a teenager that understands what he sees and what's going on. And when he's looking at him, I have to make a decision that he can be proud of, even if it means throwing my career away.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I don't want people to miss, because we did eventually get to the light on the other side and things are good now, but I don't want people to miss that the decision was made long before. I won't say long before, because once the decision was made, a lot of other factors came into play, thankfully in good speed, but in the decision-making process, that didn't exist. So there was fear, there was a great possibility of what may have felt like failure, and there was walking away from something that he'd had a stake in for so long that it was synonymous.
Yeah.
You would say Ramses Ja followed by this almost 100% of the time. So that decision was made with the idea that I'm going to lose all of this.
Yeah. And
the decision was still made. So that's the thing that I want to impress upon people the most, is that there was no parachute and there was no master play. It feels like chess now, but it wasn't, honestly. Right? We sat and we had that emotional, scary conversation, and we don't know what's going to happen next. But I reassured him that the decision he made was the right decision long before there was a positive outcome. It wasn't based on, it wasn't a result-based decision. He just made the right decision, and then things worked out in the end in a very beneficial way. And like you said, the platform, the stage, and the voice is larger and louder now.
Yeah, definitely. We were just talking that, out of pressure comes diamonds. And, without that pressure, I don't think you would have, or maybe you would have, had your civic cipher. It just wasn't being done by anyone.
Right. And I understand that if someone's going to do it, probably the best look for a show like that would probably have been me, because of my history with that community, going all the way back to when I was a teenager, and my affiliation with the NAACP, and my, this is, I'm black. If you're not watching the video here, I'm black. So but I'm real black. You know what I'm saying? Call Advanta black. I'm not I don't just happen to be black. I actually live a black life, and I do my best to, if you get some power and some notoriety or whatever, you can't just be like, okay, well, I'm not that black no more. I don't have them problems no more, so I'm over here. Heck no, man, I'm from Compton. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be with me forever.
There's a lot of that going on, unfortunately.
You dig what I'm saying? So I wasn't asking nobody for my own sake. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I was just trying to make sure that the people had it. And then when that kind of got shut down, and when I heard that exact phrase, I don't want to do a black show, it really made me question, how could a radio station, and again, I don't think that they planned it this way. I just, the optics are perhaps something they didn't consider. How could a radio station play 70% black artists?
Higher.
Okay. 100% black music. That means even if you're not black, you're still doing black music across 2 radio stations. And none of the on-air staff are black, but the music is all black, right? The culture is all black. Everything there is black too. I understand that you're speaking a language that's not your native tongue, but it is mine. So we can be brothers here. There's a dialogue to have. But you got to understand the optics.
Don't not have my back
when it comes time to get busy, right? So anyway, when it all came down to the come down, it's man, when you look at this, man, it's not really fair if you're just gonna, say that we're only good enough to be rapping are singing, but when we come to the table and we try to like have an intellectual conversation or do something about moving the culture forward, or at least address the murders that we're seeing every single week of our countrymen and our you know, our brothers and our sisters, you know, and it doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't change your life in the least. It costs you zero. All you have to do is say yes, and I'll literally take care of the rest. And you know me. You do know me. You know me for 10 years, and you know I did right by you. And that part, that's the part where you had to learn that lesson, because that was wrong. Everything else, hey man, we could talk about it. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe you did something wrong, but that part was wrong, and that forces your hand. What do you want me to do? Turn my back on black people? Come on now.
Yeah, and they're kind of asking you like, hey man, like you're still gonna work there, you know? So that part was, it was unfortunate, but you know, in the spirit of brotherhood and in the spirit of, you know, togetherness and everything like that, like I'm you can tell I'm trying to be like as diplomatic and as accommodating as I can for people's, you know, shortcomings. And because I know that at some point I may have some shortcomings. I'm not a perfect man. I just had an idea, and you know, now the idea is up and running on both stations, and everybody benefits from that. So, but yeah, man, the optics. Once you look at the optics, how I wrote them in that letter, then it becomes a little bit more like, okay, well, shoot, man, maybe he was on to something. Maybe we got to actually, you know, do something. Maybe more than just one edition, the community edition show or whatever, Black Lives Matter edition. I definitely think it puts like that idea in everybody's head, not just, you know, for the station, but for the whole community.
Exactly.
To like, if you stand by something, like you don't have to stay, or you don't have to accept no, like if you feel your path is different.
Sure.
And, you know, it's a hard decision, you know. There's a lot of people that, you know, want to be there, and there's a lot of people that, you know, feel the same that might not want to be there.
Sure.
So it's very,
you know what? How about this? Dave Chappelle had, if you're old enough to know this, then this might make sense to you, but Dave Chappelle had a show on Comedy Central, the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, he was doing a skit, and somebody laughed at the skit the wrong way. And it caused him to reevaluate what he was doing and who he was relative to that moment, relative to his legacy, relative to his people, relative to his culture, relative to everything. And then he had to make a decision how he was going to move forward. And you know, a lot of people don't understand what it's like to walk away from money or walk away from prestige or whatever like that.
He walked away from so much.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna pretend like I walked away from stuff that Dave Chappelle did or Colin Kaepernick or all these sort of people, but I do understand, having lived through that situation, that you get to a point where you have to come to terms with the fact that, like, okay,
what am I doing? What is
exactly?
This?
I'm gonna tell you something. A few years ago, I had to bury my father, right? And I love my dad. My dad was my dad. Some people might say he's a good man. Some people might not say that about my dad, but he was my dad no matter what, right? And I'm from Compton. So when I was little, the magic age for me was 20, because I used to remember hearing when I was 7, 6, 8, that such and such died when they was 13 or 17 or 16 or 19. So the teens was where you went to die. Yeah. But if you could make it to 20, then you were good. And my brain told me that when I was a little kid, right? So watch this. So I've had this obsession, almost, this morbid obsession with my death since I was a little kid, right? And then I had to come and look that face to face when I had to bury my father. Okay, it's a long roundabout way of me explaining what I'm about to say. When I buried my father, I was able to say, that man did right by me. I don't care what nobody else says. He did right by me. And above all else, above money, above radio, above, name it. It doesn't matter. Above all else, I have 2 little boys that have my father's last name. I want those boys to be able to say, when I pass, when they lower me into the ground, I want them to say, that man did right by me. And if you don't understand that, then we're not even having two different conversations. We're speaking two different languages.
Yeah, definitely.
Bottom line. So if I'm doing something to move these children's culture forward, if I'm doing something to secure a little bit safer world for these two children and your children when they come, and his children, and Rascal's children, shout out to Rascal, and Justice's children, and everybody's children, you know, and everybody listening to this right here, you know, then I feel like that's a life well lived, and it doesn't matter what you walk away from if you end up with that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So.
And that's well said, because you want to set an example. You don't want to, you know, look back and be like, well, I should have done this better for my kids.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine me going to work there after they told me I don't want to do a black show?
It's already so much pressure to just be perfect for your kids. You know what I'm saying? You want to make the best example.
Exactly.
And I feel like they'll definitely remember, you know, even your smallest, because I know he was always at the station.
Yeah, man, and even
he
Christian.
pretty much grew up there.
Yeah, well, Christian too. You got to think.
Yeah, he was.
So my older son, even before my little boy was born, my older son, like, these people know my children.
They've grown up in radio.
They know that their dad does this. You know, like they would talk to their friends at school. Oh, my dad, he's on the radio. He's this and that and the third. You know what I'm saying?
My dad has a billboard.
Exactly. So I got to say no and take that away from all of them and all of my friends that use that as a resource and it enriches their life in some way. Everybody loses that.
That's
you know,
funny.
but there's
That's
people
true.
that like, yo, I have somebody that works on the radio.
I know
somebody
a friend. I know someone, you know.
You know, and people that, like, you got to think, a lot of times people come from environments where there's a tremendous amount of hopelessness, and they're not able to really see the future. There's nothing to believe in. Nothing's good is happening. You know what I'm saying? And then if they feel like there's a connection with a Viv, or there's a connection with a Ramses or a Q Ward or something like that, then they feel like, dang, okay, there's something I could. It's not all bad. It's not all hopeless. The world doesn't all exist to take away dreams and all.
Yeah.
There's bright moments in my life, right? So that matters to people, and at a point you have to come to terms with, like, okay, well, this is not a decision that just affects me. It affects a lot of people around me, but you know, again, on the other side of it, you know, the world's a better place. You know, I'm sure that Colin Kaepernick and Dave Chappelle and all these other people, that I wasn't basing nothing off of them when I did it, but I understand it because I wasn't thinking about no other men. I was thinking about me. I was thinking about my babies. I was thinking about the audacity of the conversation that I had just had. You know what I'm saying? Like, how in the world, you know what I'm saying? And I was having my moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am a man. I do have emotion, and I had to go through all of those emotions. And like I said, more than that loss. But yeah, the fact is that, you know, you really have to deal with it on its own, and I absolutely appreciate how I'm sure Colin Kaepernick would have felt, you know, on the other side of it. Is like, well, I lost this bread, but hopefully everybody takes at least one step forward.
Yeah, now the whole nation.
And that's what that's
like,
worth.
Oh, this is what he was talking
right,
about.
and that's worth whatever I lost, because I'm just one person. But if everybody take one step forward, then we all gained a little something, and then that wealth or whatever has diffused into the community and enriched us all a little bit. And I'm sure he's comfortable with that, and that's sort of how I took away from it. I'm not gonna speak for these men because I don't know these men, but I'm speaking for me. I feel like me taking a step back meant that everybody, if you listen to my voice right now, even if you don't even believe what I'm saying, or if you think all lives matter or all this sort of stuff, you know, this other, you know, alternative narratives that you're trying to spin off, even for you, that means that you and your children can take a step forward too, because eventually we're gonna have to get this all sorted out, and we're gonna have to really enjoy this planet together as brothers and sisters, and I really believe that. So I did it for you too.
And I know where you're coming from, because I've known you for a minute.
Yeah.
And I've known you for a minute too. I know you can always see like the light at the end of the tunnel. You know that we're not going to be having this conversation in a year, or hopefully not in a couple months. We'll be talking more about like how your project now has flourished.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's looking like it's going to do that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm like really excited for, because you guys were nervous about that at first.
Yeah.
You know, because you're like so.
I didn't. You got to think, like 3 weeks ago, I thought I was going to do a half-hour show.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night on the beat. Now I'm like national. Like I'm on, you know, like Dash Radio. They're one of the first people to reach out to me.
So tell me who's involved. How did this come together? And then obviously what made you push? Well, we know what made you push like the "Let's Go" button, you know, because that was announced shortly after.
Yeah.
But who's all involved? Who are we shouting out? Who's behind this?
So many people, man. First off, I want to shout out everybody that really got behind the message. Everybody that shared it. Everybody that, you know, understood what I was trying to do. They didn't let their emotions get the best of them, because I don't believe in destructive energy. I don't think that destroying no radio station or destroying no men is really the way to go, unless in the absolute most dire of circumstances. I believe that everybody in their heart of hearts wants to do good. And if we can still be brothers on the other side of a disagreement, then there's the capacity for them people who did wrong to do right. So everybody that was you know, understood my energy, and 100% of the people did. Everybody that shared, everybody that posted, everybody that spoke up on my behalf, everybody that called a friend and told the homie or whatever, like all of y'all, man, that support was very special. I want to shout out Squeak Boogie, because Squeak really came through in the clutch when I needed him. Q Ward to my left here. I really needed a lot of therapy. I'm still going through therapy, because you got to think, I lost a lot of years of friendship. You know, I don't feel like I'm going to hold that against them, but I feel like they might hold it against me. And even though it's not necessary, I got plenty of love in my life and plenty of friends. The type of person I am, that affects me. So even this right now, talking with you is more therapy for me. A lot of therapy. My fault, dog. Anyway.
It's a new episode, the therapy sessions.
Man, I mean, you can tell I'm going through it. It's a happy time, but you know, for me, you know, that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you know, like I'm fine with everything else, but you know,
that's kind of how I don't want to hurt nobody. Is we talk to people that we connect with, and we kind of like, you know, share similar views, and we understand each other.
Exactly.
It's not like you're sitting here with me and I'm just like, no, I don't agree.
No, not at all. Hey, but let me shout out a couple more folks. I do want to shout out. I want to shout out Sinbad, because he's really been there for me. Matlocks, Robbie as well. I do want to shout out my little sister. Her name is Princess, and she helped me a lot with, you know, getting everything organized. Bootleg Kev, he was like one of the first people I talked to. I known Kevin since I was 7 years old. He was 3.
Your
so yeah, that's my little brother. I used to be able to pick him up and walk around with him. So, you know, we grew up together. But you know, he was there for me as well, and just kind of helped me get everything established. And then as far as like on the radio, I know I'm forgetting a lot of people. There's a lot of people that helped me out, and the names aren't coming to me right now. But your energy is well received, and hopefully I will continue to receive it, because it's really fortified me and energized me, and hopefully I do right by you. I do want to thank Zara for Black Lives Matter, for really being patient with me. And then Alejandra, she's another person I've been working with. She really has a lot to say about like the kids in the cages and on the border and all that sort of stuff. And I really felt like that needed a voice too. And she's been patient with me as well. So and then, you know, let's get to the meat and potatoes. I want to thank Mikey Mike, who is the director of operations for Dash Radio out in LA, who reached out to me. He was like, hey man, I don't know what show you was trying to do, but whatever it was, will you please do it over here at Dash Radio? He's like, we got 17 million listeners every week. Wow. And they all need to hear what you're talking about. So I was like, say way less, Mikey, let's do it. Ben Romero, aka DJ Complex, that's a good man. I know we both got in the radio roughly around the same time. We used to do Friday Night Flavors together back in the day, me, him, and Squeak. Hopefully you know some of these names. I know just rattling off names, it's hard to follow in the interview.
We'll
but
tag him in the comments.
Yeah, tag all these people. But Squeak Boogie, anyway. So me and Complex reached out to me, and he was telling me like, same thing. You know, hey man, look, whatever show you was doing over there, man, I would love to have it over here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, my man, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? So that gave me some call letters in my city, and I started at Power. That's when I first got out of college. I went to work there, so that's like a homecoming for me. So it's a handful of folks that still work there that now I work with them again, and we go back. You know what I mean? And that just gave me some FM call letters in my city, which is really, you know, for me, it felt like validation.
And you're also with
Icon Radio, right? Yeah, my man Justice, you know, so you can listen to me on this channel. I'm doing Sundays at 10 p.m. every single Sunday. You'll be able to hear Civic Cypher. And, you know, it's a community-based show. It's about activism. We're going to take on, social issues and just issues that really need a little bit of therapy or need a little bit of voice, or sometimes maybe even need some levity, whatever the case is, I feel like it's a necessary component. If we just gonna play music and do a song and a dance all day, there's got to be some balance to it. And even if it's just an hour a week, it's a start and it's something. And for those of you who feel like that might be up your alley and you want to make the world a better place, along with me and Viv and Q and Rascal and even the folks at the Beat and the folks at Power and everybody, seem like we all on the same page now. You know what I'm saying? And that's the show for you. If not, I'm sure there's some other sources, but I'm gonna do my best. There's still who else? Support District Radio, shout out to them. And Justice, he's good with this. These are all competitors. These are all people who compete with each other. But in the spirit of what I'm trying to do,
we're all in
the same page. So Support District Radio, AZ100, Mike over there, DJ Class, they showing me love.
So there's
Amanda.
So many places where we can listen. But
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
the website is like where we're trying to send everybody.
Sure. You can go to civiccypher.com, and then there's links to the all the podcasts that you can download, whatever your favorite podcasting site. The YouTube channel is up, of course.
And it's up and going.
Yeah, it's good.
You can tune in now.
Absolutely. If you want to just hop off of this and listen to my first episode, it's up. I'm gonna do one a week. Sure, I'd appreciate it. If you need some bite-sized chunks, they're up on YouTube. You can get them views up for me. Don't be afraid to share. Share, subscribe, because I'm doing it myself now, so what I'm doing is I'm owning the show. In the past, I always worked for somebody and everything I did, they owned what I did. Now I'm owning it, or sort of like I'm holding it on behalf of the people, but it's supported by the people. That's kind of the trade-off. So there is a link for you to donate, if you want to throw $5 or $1, whatever. If enough people do it, then boom, we can continue to produce shows. I can get bigger interviews with people, ask tougher questions, who knows. And on this path, because it's me alone, that's the path that goes to like CNN, that's the path that goes to like NBC, and all these channels.
The community, it's not about
and for the rest of my life, just like I always have been. If you don't know, you could ask about me, you could Google me, you could Google Q Ward, you could find out exactly what we've been on. We've been about the community for years and years. Pure gold, fears no fire. You could just look up my name, it'll all come up. So no matter how far I go, man, I'm gonna do my best to stand by you. I try not to let my personal beliefs get in the middle with too much, because I get that there's a couple of different ways to skin a cat. That's a gross metaphor, to use, but whatever.
Just got a cat.
But sorry, but the point is not for me to decide, but for us to have a place where we can have a conversation. Hence, Civic Cypher. Definitely. For those hip hop heads who know what the cipher is and what that term means to the hip hop culture, for me, a cipher is when we all passing a mic around, or we all in a huddle and we doing a beatbox thing and somebody's spitting or whatever. And then the civic part of it means that it relates to like governments or municipalities or whatever. So we just getting in a huddle and chopping game and really deciding what's best for the culture, for the people. And if y'all entrust me with the keys to the building, I'm gonna do my best to keep it up and keep it in shape. Just throw me a couple bucks here and there, and we ain't gonna have no problems.
We'll keep it going. So
yeah.
To kind of wrap up, where can we find you guys? How can we stay in the loop to make sure we know what's going on?
You can follow me on social media at Civic Cypher. If you want to follow the show, my personal one is at Ramses Ja. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Ramses Ja on all platforms, Civic Cypher on all platforms. I make it real easy. And if you do find me, show some love. It's ramsesja.com, civiccypher.com. And through them links, you can find everything that I do about, the Change Society, #lunchbag. You can find everything, all the other things that I do, with Q, with my partners downtown, with everything. So
yeah, he's very, very current.
I try to stay on it.
And you, Q?
I am Q Ward, and same on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram. I got like one follower on Twitter, which is kind of popping.
I'm about to add one. I'll give you one more.
Yeah, I took like a 3.5 year break from social media.
I remember that.
I had to start
But you're
from
back,
scratch.
so let's run these numbers
Well,
up.
yeah, let's press the follow button. I don't say much on there because ain't too many people paying attention. But Instagram, I'm there pretty often. You can see my kids. You know, you can see really everything that we got going on. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys are very busy, man. So thank you for taking the time. To
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
down and talk
Thank
to
you
us.
for
Let
making
me
time.
say one more thing, okay? If you listen this far in the interview, man, you know that I'm about love and I'm about, you know, togetherness and all this sort of stuff. So I want you to take that with you. But before I get out of here, I want to say something that I really think is really special to me. I walked into this studio right now and I saw Aunt Viv sitting in this chair with these microphones around her, man. And I got a chance to tell her I was proud of her, but I didn't get a chance to tell everybody listening how proud I am of her. So
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, man. Keep shining.
Thanks.
You know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, I don't know, man. Right now, you're the brightest star in the sky, man. And I love to see that. So I'm really proud of you, man. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for coming in, and thank you for those kind words.